Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And also, welcome to the month of March. And we're moving away from winter and heading towards spring. That should be good news for some of us out there. I don't know if that's going to encourage you to head to coffee shops more often, but I know that during the winter, people like to go to coffee shops and drink a hot cup of joe to warm up on a cold day. But we are going to continue talking about coffee in the month of March, and we're specifically talking about something called latte art. A canvas in a cup. Do you know exactly what this is?
I've seen it. I used to live in New York City, and they had already kind of perfected this art. I don't drink coffee at all, so what I have seen, I've just, been an observer who's looked at some of these cups that have been served at a table and thought, wow, that is so pretty. I wouldn't even want to stir it or disturb it or drink it. Some of these baristas who come up with these beautiful patterns and designs are really talented, and it's not something that you can just do overnight. You have to practice at it for quite a while. We're going to talk about how latte art has become a big business, actually, and it's something that people are taking more seriously than they did, say, even 20 years ago. We're going to do as we always do, guys. I'm going to read through today's lesson, and then we'll be back. Latte art. The technique that baristas use to craft patterns on the surface of lattes and cappuccinos represents modern coffee culture. The primary method for crafting latte art involves pouring steamed milk into espresso to create hearts, flowers, leaves, and other detailed designs. Controlling how the milk flows takes a lot of practice and patience. Though the craft first appeared in Italy in the early 20th century, its real growth in popularity took place in Seattle, U.S. In 1988, cafe owner David Schomer noticed a colleague who was raised in northern Italy pouring patterns into coffee. The idea occurred to him that this could become an art form in itself. Schomer then focused on training more baristas in the craft, thus growing and spreading latte art across the world. In recent years, the field has seen remarkable developments. Organizations offer certification exams to recognize the skill and hard work required to master this craft. Various international latte art competitions have also emerged, showing the best talent in the field. Innovations like 3D latte art and recreations of famous paintings on the coffee's surface further emphasize the level of creativity involved. As the world of latte art keeps changing, it opens up new avenues for both coffee lovers and artists. Each cup transforms drinking coffee into a unique sensory journey.
Okay, everybody, let's get to it. Let's talk about the article for today. The title is Latte Art, a Canvas in a Cup. Now remember, if you're an artist, if you're a painter, then you will paint on canvas, which is a kind of cloth. In the case of an artist, your canvas is stretched over a wooden frame, so the surface in which you produce your art can be extended to talk about other kinds of art. Your canvas will be in a cup in this particular case because you're producing your art in a coffee cup on the surface of your latte.
Yeah, I wanted to mention too, Tom, you use that cute phrase, a cup of joe, a cup of joe. As you'll hear people say, it just means a cup of coffee, but regular coffee, not the pretty kind or fancy coffee. I call this stuff fancy coffee because if you have a latte or cappuccino, you need that espresso machine that makes that hissing sound. I had an old boss here in Taiwan that would drink about 12 cups, I'm not exaggerating, of espresso each day. He was trying to quit smoking smoking. And so instead of the nicotine from the cigarettes giving him energy, he would drink that espresso, and he drank it without any milk. So it was really strong. We're talking about drinks today, though, that you actually need that milk or cream or foam we're going to be talking about to create these beautiful patterns in a cup. And as the title says, it's kind of like a piece of art. We paint on something called a canvas, that heavy material or cloth that is stretched over a frame of wood, and then an artist creates something. Well, this art is created in a cup.
Right, and latte, of course, is a coffee drink, as you said, made with an espresso machine, and you mix milk with it, just like you do with a cappuccino, although there are different quantities of milk in those different drinks.
And I looked this up. Latte has more milk than the cappuccino, and cappuccino, if it's done correctly, is in layers. So it's the espresso, the steamed milk, and then foam. But latte, you mix the espresso and milk together, and it's more equal in terms of ingredients. So it sounds like the cappuccino is a little stronger.
Right. Now, if you go to a coffee shop like a Louisa or Starbucks or Dreamers or whatever, they will have people there who are making coffee, and they are the baristas. That's an Italian word, which means the person working at the bar. And they use this technique to create patterns on the surface of lattes and cappuccinos, and it represents modern coffee culture. Now, to craft something means to create something that requires a lot of skill. Craft can also be a noun, like arts and crafts, for example, if you're into embroidery or knitting or carving and things like that. Those are all arts and crafts. But here we're using it as a verb. That just means you create something with a lot of detail.
We also use craft when we're talking about someone who uses their hands to make something instead of a piece of machinery, but not necessarily. And as Tom said, we often will group these sorts of activities into a label arts and crafts. So I used to also turn it into an adjective. I would say someone is artsy craftsy. So that's not an official word or phrase you'll find in the dictionary. But if someone's really good at doing lots of crafts, you know, I just consider that's kind of their talent. They're artsy craftsy people. I have a few friends like that. So this is a craft, and it takes a skill to craft these latte art that we'll see in cups. And they're pouring steamed milk into espresso to create hearts, flowers, leaves, and other detailed designs. Those are the only ones I've seen. I've never seen anything that's as spectacular as we're going to hear about in this article.
I've seen some patterns presented to me in some coffee shops, but nothing really detailed.
Oh, really?
But again, I'm not a great coffee drinker, so I'm sure there are lots of people in Taiwan who can produce masterpieces in cups of latte. People in Taiwan pick up things rather quickly. And again, these are some examples of the patterns you might see: flowers, leaves, and other detailed designs. Maybe a dragon or maybe a rabbit for the year of the rabbit, who knows. And controlling how the milk flows takes a lot of practice and patience. So you do have to have some training, and you have to control how the milk flows. You can't let it flow or move too fast or too slow.
Right.
And this takes, of course, a lot of practice, and you have to be very patient. You can't get impatient. Oh, I'll never learn this. Geez, I've been doing this for 20 hours and I still can't do it. I give up.
Yeah, someone has to be really patient for this. I wanted to mention we have technique in different things, right? So this could be a technique, a way of carrying out this particular task or performing this particular art. When I was singing, different teachers had different techniques they used to teach their students. So we use technique in a lot of different ways. But this technique is that we're talking about today is exclusive to these types of art found in cups of coffee, latte, cappuccinos. Now, the craft was first discovered or invented or created in, of course, Italy. And that's not surprising. They're quite good at their coffee. And it came around in the early 20th century. So this is back in the 1900s, guys. It's been around a while. It took a while to cross the ocean and come over to America, at least. But they're the ones who came up with it first. But it wasn't until Starbucks, that big coffee place that was born in Seattle in the United States on the West Coast, that this became something that you would see more frequently outside of just the country of Italy.
Right. So, of course, it took place in Seattle, which is kind of a center of gourmet coffee culture in the United States, even more so than San Francisco. And in 1988, cafe owner David Schomer noticed a colleague who was raised in northern Italy pouring patterns into coffee. Now, this is a coffee shop owner by the name of David Schomer. I don't know if this is actually a Starbucks or something else, but he was there and he noticed a colleague or somebody who works with him. This person was raised in northern Italy and he was pouring patterns into coffee. And, of course, the owner thought, that's something interesting. Maybe I could make some money with that. Maybe I could create those patterns in coffee and charge extra for those things or attract business or whatever. And so he got this idea.
I wanted to mention our vocabulary word here, colleague, is very similar to coworker, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard that word as well. I would say colleague is somebody who works with you, but usually uses this in a profession or some sort of white-collar business. If you perhaps are working on the streets, in construction, or maybe you're working in a 7-Eleven, I would call those people your coworker. A colleague is usually more of a profession that requires a lot of study, and schooling, things like that. But that's the difference between those two. So we're going to continue talking about this, guys, and how it really got started and spread once it got to Seattle. But right now, guys, we're going to take a quick break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。相信大家都很喜欢喝咖啡，不过呢，我们今天要带大家看咖啡的什么呢？看咖啡上的画布，也就是当我们在拉花的时候，为什么咖啡会出现拉花呢？在这个文章我们会说明它的历史，不过我们这篇文章是把它做成刻漏字，就是大家觉得还蛮困难的部分。可大家其实也不用紧张，因为其实像现在的大考在刻漏字上通常5题会有1题类似像文法或者是所谓动词变化这样子的形态。所以我们看一下，像今天的第一题你看到这4个选项就知道这个是考一个动词的变化那这时候通常的考点是什么呢？通常它的考点可能会是时态，或者是这个句子当中它前面的动词会搭配什么样的动词变化出现，比如说 cause someone to do something, allow someone to do something, consider doing something， 像这种动词的用法。好，所以我们就赶快来看今天的文章咯。当然第一段会先提到什么叫做咖啡这个所谓的 latte art。latte 这个所谓的拿铁就是所谓的咖啡拉花啦。在第一段的一开始呢，其实它是一个 what 的概念，就是介绍什么叫做咖啡拉花。所以在第一段的第一句，我们先注意一下，它其实有一个限定用法的关系子句先行词是 latte art， 逗点之后同义词的 the technique， 就是这个所谓的技术，这个技巧。而这个技巧呢，后面 that 一直到逗点的地方，我们可以左右括号。我们说它是一个关系子句，而且是限定用法的原因是因为在括号当中，我们如果以动词为出发，找这个动词的 use， 前面会看到 baristas 主词是咖啡师， baristas use something， 它到底用什么东西呢？当然就是用这个先行词 technique 这个技巧来创造出像是拿铁或者是 cappuccino 表面上图案的一个技巧。好，那当然在第一段把这个 what 先整个介绍完之后，就会进入到我们的第一题第一题出现在第一段第2句的地方。仔细的说来，总而言之，制造拉花主要的方法就是要先把 steamed milk， 我们也知道要这个牛奶要经过蒸汽打到奶泡之后呢，再倒入浓缩的咖啡当中。所以在第一格，我们在这里看到前面的动词 就很重要了。好，那前面的动词啊，它在这整句话当中，它看到的是 involve， 这整个主要的方法就包含有 pouring steamed milk into espresso。那当我们把奶泡倒到浓缩咖啡里面，就可以创造出，其实目的是为了要创造出各种不同的 designs。所以第一格其实是 B 选项 to create。的语义是要表现为了创造出什么什么东西，所以它其实动作有一个先后，先倒这个奶泡，然后之后呢就会创造出来，而且其实是一个目的的概念哦，所以答案选 B， 不能选 D。这个 by 加动词 ing 啊，它是一个借由某一种方式，借由某一种方法，那如果选 D 的话，语义就不对了。好，所以接下来我们看到第二段哦，第二段就真的是出现到这个所谓的历史啦。为什么一开始会有所谓的这个拉花这样子的东西？其实它本来是出现在20世纪初的意大利，不过是从美国的西雅图来开始成长的哦。我们看到第二段第一句出现的第二题，第二题其实你看啊，前面有一个 growth。成长，它真正的成长在哪方面的成长呢？哦，原来是西雅图这边开始风靡起来，开始大家知道有所谓拉花这个技术，所以根据上下文的语义，第二个应该要选 A 的 popularity。那 B 的这个 necessity 呢，其实这个名词它有两个意思，第一就是所谓的需求，像我们会说 necessity is the mother of invention，需要为发明之母啊，就是因为有需求才会有发明，甚至它可以当是日常生活的必需品，那这个时候就可以数了。所以我们日常生活的必需品通常都会很多，而且习惯也会用复数 daily necessities。好，那接下来既然谈到了真正风靡之事是源于美国的西雅图，当时是发生什么事呢？原来啊是1988年，当时有个咖啡馆 David Schumer， 他就注意到他的一个同事啊是意大利北部长大的，他当时啊就把图案倒到咖啡当中。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's continue talking about latte art. So the story begins in the United States in 1988 in Seattle. David Schomer noticed a colleague who was from Italy. He was pouring patterns into coffee, and then the idea occurred to him that this could become an art form in itself. If something occurs to you, that means you think of that thing. Someone may suggest something to you, like maybe you should do it this way. Oh, that never occurred to me. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. So Schomer then focused on training more baristas in the craft. Thus, and this is the consequence of that, growing and spreading latte art across the world. A phrase that you hear more and more these days is, I'm going to grow my business, or he's growing his business. We used to not use this so much. I would say even 30 years ago it didn't exist. But we've language continues to grow and change over time. So growing a business is completely appropriate to say. So here, he's growing this particular arts and crafts. He's growing this art, and it's also spreading across the world. So in recent years, this is moving down to the next paragraph, the field of latte art, it's seen remarkable developments. It's changed quite a bit. If it's remarkable, it's wow, it's so cool that you have to notice it and remark on it or remark upon it, make notice of it. Organizations are now offering certification exams to recognize the skill and hard work required to master this particular craft.
Yep, as I said, gourmet coffee has taken off around the world. When I was younger, of course, we just had Folgers coffee, and we made coffee with a percolator, which would seem savage and cruel, savage and uncivilized by modern people.
And didn't taste very good either, huh?
It tasted good enough back then.
Okay.
But, of course, nowadays we're used to lattes and cappuccinos, so
Yeah.
having percolated coffee would be very difficult at this point. And, of course, we've added the craft of latte art. and it's seen remarkable developments. It is improved by leaps and bounds all over the world. And again, you can even get certification and take those exams to get some sort of license so you can work as a barista and actually get a pretty good salary. Of course, if you do some training for some particular skill, like to be an electrician or a plumber, you need to get certification, and then you take a certification exam, and then you can get your license.
Interesting. I'm sure they make a little bit more per hour than just baristas who don't have this certification to show that they've gone through the training and they've got the skill required to produce some really wonderful art. So various international latte art competitions have also emerged. So you've got some places that you can go and compete with other artists, you could say, latte artists, and show them how good you are. If you're in a competition, you are indeed competing against other people in some sort of category. Maybe it's a spelling competition at school where you get up and the last person standing who can spell those really difficult words right wins. Or maybe you're in a singing competition or an art competition where you're competing against other artists. It's hard to judge art competitions, though, because, you know, it's pretty subjective, meaning the judges are looking at stuff and it may appeal to some people and not appeal to others, but they still go ahead and have these competitions. And it's kind of fun. I think it's fun for the spectators, people who go and watch, because they can see some pretty spectacular art.
Right, and a competition, of course, is a kind of contest, but you could also use this word in a business setting.
You could.
Like maybe you want to open your own coffee shop, but you need to realize that there's a lot of competition out there, a lot of other people who want to get business as well, and that's probably true of coffee shops in Taiwan. My goodness, there seem to be coffee shops everywhere. It will probably be very difficult to start a coffee shop and make some money because there is so much competition. But here we've got competitions or contests, and they have emerged around the world. And if you have that certification, you can show your best talent in the field and participate in those competitions and maybe win a prize, and you might get a lot of money as a result.
Yep, you might. Who knows? It's fun regardless of money. But they have various international latte art competitions. Oh, you'd have to go abroad for those. I would do it just to go and go traveling, see the world. So if something emerges, it comes out here. These art competitions are emerging in different places around the world. I would think that Europe has a lot of these. So we've got innovations. Let's talk about what new innovations they have. They've got 3D latte art. I'm not even sure how that works. So get online, look that up, see what that looks like. And they're also getting into this recreation of famous paintings on the coffee surface. So we've got a lot of famous artwork, masterpieces that everybody knows, or a lot of people know. Not everybody is familiar with masterpiece or works of art. But if you can recreate it, I would say you're pretty much an artist on your own. Wow, people who could recreate that with milk and moving that cup around are pretty amazing to me. So these are some of the innovations, the new sort of things they're doing with latte art. And you can check those out if you attend some of the competitions, or keep your eye peeled and see if you can see some of the reports on them in the news.
Right, and they are recreating famous paintings, maybe like Starry Night or Vincent van Gogh's self-portrait or something by Paul Cézanne or something like that. And to recreate is the verb, and the thing that you actually copy is your recreation. And this is similar to the word recreation. They're spelled the same, but recreation just talks about having fun. What do you do for rest and relaxation? Well, I like to ride my bicycle on the bike path on weekends. That's a form of recreation, but recreation is when you make something in a different form from an original form. So they're making recreations of famous paintings on the surface of the coffee, and of course that will emphasize or stress the level of creativity involved. It lets us know that, my goodness, the sky is the limit. People are going to be coming up with all sorts of different ideas about making art on the surface of a cup of latte.
Yeah, that's what's fun about life. We've got a lot of creative minds out there who come up with new things all the time. So as the world of latte art keeps changing, and it will, it opens up new avenues for both coffee lovers and artists. Here, avenue doesn't refer to a big, wide road that cars and people and bicycles and scooters can travel on. Nope. This is a way of approaching a problem or finding a way to get to the solution that you need. Maybe you're in business and you want to talk to the boss about how you're going to achieve your sales target this year, and you've got different avenues of approaching it. Some suggest doing it this way, and then another colleague will say, no, I think we should try this solution, or somebody else has another way of getting to the result that you want. That's just a way of getting to a solution or fixing a problem that you have, an avenue. What's a way of thinking that people are using? But again, here, it doesn't mean a big road. It just means it opens up new areas for people who are both coffee lovers and artists to think about in the future. I'm sure more and more innovations will appear in the future.
But I'm just wondering if they can do this with oolong tea, but oolong tea does not have foam on the surface, so I'm not quite sure how they would do that unless you have things float on the surface of a cup of tea or soda or whatever. But for now, of course, we're talking about latte art. And yes, indeed, lots of people are expecting new innovations from people, and they want to enjoy their cup of coffee with that work of art on the surface. And of course, they'll take a picture or two of it before they slurp it down. And of course, when you drink that cup of latte, you will destroy that work of art, but still you got to see it and you did take a picture of it. And of course, each cup transforms drinking coffee into a unique sensory journey. So sensory here means to have to do with the senses. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, etc., etc. And indeed, it will be sensory in terms of vision and in terms of taste and smell.
And smell, yeah.
And feel, too, the way the foam feels in your mouth as well.
Yeah, it's really a sensory journey as you drink some of these beautiful artworks, I guess you could say, in a cup of coffee. Right now, guys, we're going to turn the time over to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to say 再见。
他注意到这个同事把图案倒入咖啡当中，他就突然想到一件事，这好像可以成为一个艺术。第二段的第三句蛮重要的哦，因为我们开始看到的是动词 occur to someone。occur to someone， 如果前面我们看到的是某个想法到了某个人的心中，中文会说某人突然想到什么，可是英文可以用 an idea occur to someone。Something occurred to someone， 这是第一个重点。第二个重点是 the idea 到底是什么 idea 呢？真正的 idea 是出现在后面，所以在句子当中有一个 that 这个连接词，它是没有意义的哦，而且它加的是一个完整子句，补充说明 the idea 是什么。所以这里的 that 是一个不可以省略的连接词，那后面加的是完整子句的意思是不缺主词也不缺受词，完整的说明 the idea 是什么。好，所以这个 Schumer 他就突然想说，哇，这个可以变成是一个艺术诶，他就决定要专注在培养更多的咖啡师，培训更多的咖啡师，让这个拉花艺术可以传播到世界各地。接下来我们就看到第三题咯。第三题有4个动词片语，那么在这里因为是 Schumer 把它发展出来这样子的一个技术，所以我们根据上下文选 C focused on something 这个动词会比较通顺。好，接下来我们就看到咯，那到最近的话呢，我们也知道拉花这个技术真的是每个人都知道，有些人会拉心有些人拉花啦，甚至有些人还可以作画呢。所以在第三段的时候，其实在这个领域当中有什么样的发展。第4题，如果你在这个背景知识不是很清楚的话，可以借由第三段第2句这个地方做一个文意的判断，因为在第三段第2句有提到 organizations， 有很多的组织就会提供 certification exam， 然后来 recognize 公认这样子的 skill 跟 hard work。 也就是说现在的发展是越来越蓬勃了，所以第4题选 C remarkable 会比较这个通顺。好，那么我们在接下来第3段的第2句这个地方啊，还是要注意一下有一个关系子句的简化哦。先行词是 the skill and hard work， 后面的 required 到句尾可以左右挂号起来，其实关带的 that 跟 be 动词的 are 被省略掉。好，那这个部分呢是关系子句的简化。那接下来当然提到，如果说大家都觉得这个拉花是一个艺术，然后也有很多的国际的艺术的竞赛啊，那这样子的话呢，整个领域就会有很多优秀的人才哦。所以最后面呢，我们看到了第5题。第5题前面的主词，我们看到的是 International Latte Art Competition。 那这个竞赛如何呢？根据上下文，竞赛就是有很多人会办嘛，所以你会去参加嘛，所以竞赛就到处的出现了。第5题答案选 D。 不过这句话其实后面有一个逗点，逗点之后 showing 到底是连接了 and 还是 which 呢？在这里如果我们根据上下文来判断，第一个动词是 have emerged， 有很多的竞赛都已经出现了，而这样的状况就凸显出其实在这个在这个领域当中有很多的人才出现。所以根据上下文来推断的话，这里的 showing 应该是一个补充说明关系子句 which 省略之后，把 shows 在简化之后的关带的一个省略。好，所以它是一个关系子句的简化哦，不过是非限定用法补充说明的关系子句的简化。好，最后面我们就看到，当然会有一些像 3D 拉花，还有我们刚刚说的有一些名画也会进来。所以下次啊，当你在点一杯 latte 的时候，看到上面有很多的拉花，或许你也可以看看后面的艺术哦。我是安娜，我们下次见。
That's all the time we have today, guys. Hope you learned a lot about latte art, at least in English. And keep your eyes peeled. See if you can see some beautiful pieces of art as your barista serves you your cup of coffee. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.